Hello, everyone. Welcome to what is a very impromptu live show. Mainly, I am doing this to talk about my experience with BookTube-A-Thon, and I've had a lot of thoughts while going through this past week, and mostly this is about me kind of de-stressing and getting a lot of thoughts out about BookTube-A-Thon, because I had quite a lot. It's mostly just about the experience of BookTube-A-Thon, the challenges of BookTube-A-Thon, and this may not matter to a lot of people. It might be much more technical than people are willing to listen to, but heck, I'm doing it anyway. Hopefully we can have some fun along the way. We have prepared a hashtag, meaning I have prepared a hashtag because it's just me right now, for, oops, am I pushing the button right? I don't know that I am. For an impromptu live show. Oh, wait, no, I'm just reading the thing here. I'm already messing this up. So if you want to comment on the video or ask a question, if you would like to ask a question, simply comment on the video, or you can be on Twitter and use the hashtag BrockRambles in order to talk to me. Yeah, so mainly I had a lot of comments about a few things over the past week, and one of them was about marshmallows. Obviously, obviously there was the day 6 challenge with the chubby bunnies, and I got so many comments about people asking about the marshmallow container, and they were all surprised that we had that lying around. That's a container that my wife keeps in the kitchen underneath where all the flour and stuff is, and we use it for baking. So if we want like Rice Krispies or a fancy treat, we have it nearby. So I was a little surprised to get a lot of questions about it, because it seems like this is a unique thing. It may be, it may not be, but I guess if I'm the only person who does this, then all right, okay. But it's a great way to store marshmallows, and that way you never have to worry about the bag getting squished or about them getting kind of stale. They're always on hand when you need them for a treat. Okay, so that's my little thing about marshmallows. Second, I know I was talking to P.T. Hilton, and he said that, oh, I've already lost it. I'll come to that later. But what's going on is that with BookTube-A-Thon, this was a big experiment for me. I wanted to try to challenge myself, because last year's BookTube-A-Thon took a lot of energy, and it was really stressful, even though I didn't participate in the video challenges or the video logs that much. There were, I'm going to do a lot. This is why my videos are edited, and this, me talking, is just the most rambly thing you will ever hear. So what the experiment was trying to do was to see if I could make videos every single day and do them within the limited time frame that I have. Right now at work, well, there's work during the day, normal, regular work, and for BookTube-A-Thon last year, it was very difficult to all of a sudden, come home, just because of where we are in the country and the time zones. Typically only had, and it takes an hour to get home, an hour to do the video. That means to shoot, edit, cut, put it up for the daily challenge, and then it has to be up by 7 p.m. my time. That's when it closes down, that's when it ends. So it was very stressful last year. And while I had a lot of fun doing BookTube-A-Thon last year, I wanted to see if I could go harder this year, which meant needing to find a way to do daily videos. Now, the way that I managed to, the answer to that problem really was to do it animated. It's something that I did in a pinch a while back for a shout out video that we did. And I'm going to say we a lot, but I'm really just referring to me because there's really nobody else here. If I do that, that's just because I'm used to talking about we's when it comes to work and stuff. Michael Kiddo says, "Go Brock, go." I don't know if this is showing up on the screen. I hope it is. It may or may not. What's going on here? Anyway, thanks a lot. I'm trying. So my train of thought also gets derailed easily. This is why we do editing. So in needing to do animation, I was trying to get rid of all the steps that I normally do when making a video, which is to set up a light, set up a camera, set up the audio equipment, actually shoot it, grab any books I need for the video, which typically, because all my books are in storage, that means running up and down the stairs quite a bit. And if I can get rid of all those steps, then it makes it so much easier for me to A, make a video, and B, do the challenge itself. So getting the amount of equipment I needed down was crucial to that. So with using these things through Bitstrips, which is where they have little avatar creators and you can make little characters that look like you. Using Bitstrips, I was able to do most of this with simply my computer, my laptop, take a microphone with me so I could record, and then I could go to, I could put it on my backpack and I could go to work and even do it at work on my lunch break or do portions of it throughout the day, which helped the process immensely. Typically when you're shooting a video, when I'm shooting a video, I can get anywhere from 26 minutes to like an hour of footage, and trying to cut that down when I'm second guessing myself all the time shooting a video, it gets in the way. There's no time. So with just a microphone and recording into the laptop, I can record like a 5-minute portion, and instantly there is less footage, less material to review, which speeds up the process immensely. Then there's time saved for things like, well, what am I going to do? I can think more about the daily challenges. There was the bit where you have to shoot stuff. Like if I ever wanted to shoot anything, I was able to go and actually shoot a little bit here and a little bit there, because typically those daily challenges are very, very brief. And so instantly, by reducing all the stuff you would normally put into a video, you wind up with less to do. And that allowed for more time, like selecting the stills and selecting the animation. I'm just going to give you a brief look at this highly technical process. Let me just do a little screen share here. We're going to pop into a window here. So under Bitstrips, what we have is they use it for comic creation. So typically it's for little still in comics. And that's all it is. The site isn't very functional. You click on something and it logs you out, so you have to log back in all the time. But really, in order for me to create something, I'm not really animating anything. I'm showcasing still images, and I'm simply playing it for the amount of time I need it to be. So it's nothing but still images, and that saves an immense amount of time when editing, because I don't have to worry about my expression, what I look like on that day, how tired I am, which from BookTube-A-Thon is fairly tired right now. So typically I'll get a frame. All I gotta do is click on edit. I'm not sure how well this will play for everybody, but it's okay. There's not a lot of motion on this. So, and then all I have to do is click on my default figure, head into controls, and we get a few little things like faces. So I can open the mouth, I can close the mouth, I can move the head back and forth. It doesn't really do a whole lot. And then there's just a bunch of preset poses, and pretty much there's the app through Facebook, which actually allows for a lot more flexibility in the image, but the overall image you get is lower resolution than what you get through this default website. The Facebook app is really cool. You can make fun stuff with it. So whenever I'm talking or anything and I want to gesture something, I might go from like, hello, this is me standing, blah, blah, blah. And then if I want to do a gesture pose, I want to gesture to a book, I just choose this pose here. I mean, that's really it. There's no animating going on that I'm doing for myself. It's all sort of, by these people. It's all the people at Bitstrips who have made this thing. And a lot of people have they've done way more than this on videos, where they've actually taken these things and animated them fully, which is a bit insane. Like they'll do the lip movements, the mouth movements, the looks, the expressions, and they'll actually get these characters walking across things and going crazy. So that's just a little bit of what happens there. So I can really easily, you just grab the eyes, I can move all that around and get what I need. We can change expressions. There's just it's just little things like that. So being able to pop in within seconds, I can make the expression that I need, the pose that I want, hit save. It takes me, it'll either log me out or take me back to the screen, and all I have to do is save this image. And there I go. I have a JPEG. I have an image that I can use for the video. So that's pretty much all it is. And just doing that really cut down the amount of time needed. So all I had to do was, oh, the chat window is getting some action. Now I'm trying to, let me just make sure I'm on the right thing here. Boo, boo, boo. Let me just see if comments are coming in properly. If not, that's okay. We'll find another way to do this. But just getting that time down is super important. It saves everything. It saves me a lot of sanity. And then also, so the microphone was another crucial part, because rather than having to set up a camera, check focus, do a bunch of things, all you really needed to do was turn on the microphone, hide myself under the blanket, or in a room that was quiet enough at work, and then just record. And because it's also a character, there's not really much of a need to, There's not much of a need to really do take after take after take, or be like, well, I didn't like the way that I said that, or it looked funny in that one, or I tripped, or I muddled up a line. It's way easier on a microphone to just, say it. And then because you know you're going to be doing it for a character, you kind of change how you do things. You speak a lot more succinctly and a lot more briefly, which allows for, much, much shorter pieces of recording. Melody, who is joining us, says, and I hope this shows up on the screen, it's not showing up on mine, says, hey, that program is so cool. Yeah, it's a pretty fun little program. Anybody can use it. It's completely free, and there's no real problems using it for anything. Bitstrips does have a thing in there. You can use it for personal use, but if it's for a commercial purpose, or if it's something that's used for business purposes, they want you to contact them and arrange some type of rights usage thing with them. But this is another message from Michael, who is saying the chat window for your live show is getting some action, which oh yeah, thank you. That's cool. Now it looks like I'm getting the Twitter feed stuff. I may not be getting the YouTube stuff here. I'm just gonna do one quick little thing here and see if anything shows up for that. I think it does it by default, but it might not. Yeah, okay, it looks like it's added. So if the YouTube comments aren't showing up, something else is going on there. Yeah, so if anybody has any questions, just ask. It may take a minute or two for the comment to show up, but then once it's there, I can answer it. Let me see here. But yeah, it was all a part of just that experiment to produce videos daily, to find out if there was a way to do it and keep my sanity, which worked out pretty well, I think. I mean, there were some problems and some bumps along the way. What I like to do is I like to overthink. I like to think maybe too much about how things unfold or are happening in a video. And so the nature of BookTube-A-Thon is that you produce videos and you produce them right away. It's instant, you get them out, and it's all about that creativity of the moment or of the day, which is a fantastic part of the videos and of those challenges. Now, I also wanted to recap each day. That was one area where I didn't quite get everything done. I wanted to produce a video that was one of the challenges, and I wanted to do a video recap saying, oh, this is what I read on day 1 or day 2. And that didn't quite happen. I very quickly abandoned that because, again, there just wasn't time up in the challenges that I thought, well, this is fun enough. We'll be fine this way. And the other great thing about the spontaneity of these challenges is that it's a creative restriction. You only have that little time frame, and it's amazing what a creative restriction produces. Okay, I need, if somebody does a video and they need to showcase a location that's maybe like Twilight or something, and it's like they need to show the woods, but there's not really woods near where you live, and so you have to find like the nearest equivalent, or that changes the nature of the scene because now Edward and Bella are standing in a desert or something, which can add a lot of fun and little twists to what is something that people typically know as a very straight scene in a book. And I just thought that was fascinating, working within that creative restriction, which is also sort of why I wanted to go with preset animated, or like a preset pose guy, because when when you have those poses, I kind of built as many as I could of those beforehand, being like, well, I'm pretty sure I'm going to have a happy expression, a sad expression, a bored expression. I'll want to gesture at things. If I get all those expressions nailed down, then I don't have to do them on the same day as the video. I can just say, well, okay, this is my script, this is my dialogue. Now let's fit the pose of that little guy to match the dialogue. And that's sort of how that unfolded. And it just that creative restriction changes how you talk. It changes what you say, because you know going into it sort of what poses you have available. And typically you would go, well, if I don't have a pose for that, or I can't do that expression, then I won't talk about it that way, or I won't do that thing. Yeah. But it's interesting just how you behave on camera and how you behave in front of a microphone, and only a microphone, changes when you do that. I have some notes here because I wrote notes because I'm silly. Also, I can't draw. I cannot draw. This is my drawing ability. So not being able to draw presented a problem because I wanted something graphical, but I can't make a character. I'm not a character creator guy. So, oh, another thing that really cuts down on the amount of time shooting is when you have footage in the camera. A lot of you probably copy your footage onto the computer and then start cutting. And if you've been shooting for any length of time, you have to wait for that copy to happen, which adds to the time. So again, having an audio file, or having an audio file instead of something like footage from the camera, I could copy it to the computer in less than a minute, start cutting it. And yeah, most of the bits could be recorded in less than 20 minutes, and then the audio could be cut in about the same time. Actually, the whole process could be like about 20 minutes, and then more time was spent finding the guy and animating. I will talk about the books I read during BookTube-A-Thon in just a second, but again, this is just sort of my technical debrief of the experience, which was really fun. Yeah, I didn't want to waste time. I didn't want to overthink, which kind of got me into a few spots of trouble when it came to some of the challenges, because it took me 2 days to do the trailer because I didn't get started on it until the very end of the day. Work is also a factor in that. You know, work has to come first. So I was going and I was doing the day job. I was doing the day job stuff, and then afterwards it was like, well, now what can I do? And there was a certain point at each day where I just knew I probably wasn't going to make the deadline for the challenge, which is fun. I was aiming for it because it's kind of a thrill. It's a real energy. It's a real energy rush knowing that that time is coming and you only have so much to do it in. Normally deadlines are dreadful, but oops, that was actually really fun to do because, you know, it was like a race. It was like, okay, that's the finish line. Cross it. What else we got here? To sum up that portion, it's less footage, less time copying, less time to review, less time to edit, and all that time saved goes into things like the challenges. So if I wanted to shoot the scenery creation on day 2, I had way more time to focus on that. What was cool about that is that that whole portion was only about half a page in the book, which is not very long. The lines of Loch Lamora scene where they're all sitting around the table talking is very, very short. And I wanted to make sure that I had something short that I could achieve and actually shoot in no time at all. I had to shoot it before work started and before everybody from our office came in and saw me acting like a crazy person, talking to myself at various points around the table. So yeah, it's only half a page in the book, and it takes less than 30 seconds to read, and I think it's only about that long to watch. The only thing I really had to worry about there was eye lines and coverage. I made sure that I only had 3 setups. There's the shot of 2 people, another shot of 2 people, and a shot of 1 guy. And I wanted to make sure that it could be done in no time flat. I took a light because I wanted to see if I could light it, but I threw that out right away when I spent more time setting up the light than I did shooting. I was like, okay, this is taking too long. My boss walked in. Yeah. So he showed up and it was like, okay, screw the light thing. Let's just go. And the crazy thing about all that was each character also only has 3 lines of dialogue. You know, they do their confession line, they do their liar line, and they do the big shout at the end. That's it. So all I had to do was sit in each place, say those 3 lines, put a little bit of space in between them where they're looking at whoever's talking, and then that was hopefully going to be enough to cut with. When I was done shooting that, I felt so horrible. Because I could only actually look at each portion individually at that moment, and it didn't feel like it was coming together. I felt that there was nothing going on, that nothing would result from it if I tried to cut it together. And so I instantly tried looking for another option as soon as I finished shooting. But then was like, well, I shot it and I might as well look at the footage. And then once I started cutting stuff together, I kind of got rolling with it and had a lot of fun. It took a bit to wrestle everybody's look in line, but it was actually a really fun cutting challenge because I've never actually done anything like that before. It was a bit different. Yeah. Done with that page. Let me see here. There will be breaks, there will be lulls. This might be way more boring than people are used to seeing from me, simply because, well, it's live and I don't do this normally. But thank you to everyone who is joining us right now. Let me see here. So another thing, another reason why I'm doing this live show now rather than shooting a video is I'm exhausted from BookTube. BookTube-A-Thon. It was just too, it was, as much fun as it is. Wow, it's so exhausting afterwards. The point is, right now at work, we're getting into a large project, and so I've got to focus my energies on that one, and that maybe will take up all of my time up until the weekend. And so there's just not time to really shoot and cut something right now. So just doing a live show like this is perfect. Let me see. I did make some changes to the scene in the book for the Lies of Lamore a bit. There was, in the book, they don't throw gold. They don't hold up the gold piece or throw it. They do everything in unison. And I knew I was going to have a hard time trying to get all those lines in unison. And so that's why I kind of staggered it all, where somebody would say the line and all the other characters would kind of pitch in and do liar, 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 rather than doing it as one big liar. If there were like real actors doing that and like a real director and all that stuff happening, I'm pretty sure that that scene from the book would be like perfect, because the unison and the chanting that they do in that bit is so, it's so well written, that little portion. Oh, I love it so much. I've got a question coming in. We'll adjust the question in just a second. So I've already dealt with the elephant in the room, which was the marshmallow container. Hopefully everybody else has marshmallow containers on hand. I really do, because I got so many questions about that. 3 of the challenges in BookTube-A-Thon, this is interesting, involve stacking. There was always that, like, make a pile of this, make a pile of that, make a pile of this on this. And watching everybody's videos was astounding, because people are so creative with pulling books off their shelves. I get so hesitant to do all that, to pull the books off the shelves and actually like use them, because I don't want my books falling over. That scares me so much, because I want to keep them and read them and not damage them. But yeah, it was fun watching like people build towers and castles and all those things, and even just their trailers. There's so many trailers. Oh, this is one thing I wish that would have happened with BookTube-A-Thon and the awards thing. I wish that there would have been like a runner-up, because there are so many videos that are being posted by, I think it's Elizabeth at Zizzy Book Babble. I'm forgetting the hashtag or the Twitter name right now. That is, she's been posting so many videos of like things that I missed, like the one boy who did the scene from Hunger Games, where it's like, I think it's Evie, forgive me if I don't know the names, and she's pulling the names out for the selection. It's just him and Katniss. He's playing Katniss as well, but he's all dressed up in a crazy costume. Those were so cool. You know, it's just that fun spontaneity thing that people are doing that it makes BookTube-A-Thon so much fun. And I was trying to do that with these challenges was to kind of get over my need or obsession to continually rework things until I think they're good enough, and just go and do. Yeah. I'm also really glad they changed the daily challenges, or they posted the start of the challenge earlier, because that was phenomenal when they actually did. When they posted them at midnight each day, it was, I could go to bed knowing what the challenge is going to be, rather than waking up, getting to work, finding out what the challenge is, and then freaking out because I didn't bring stuff with me to do the challenge. So kudos to BookTube-A-Thon for accommodating people in that way. And Ariel Bissett and everybody who hosted, they did a pretty amazing job, as they do every year. They've got such wonderful personalities. Yeah, I was kind of hoping they were going to do the book cover recreation tag last, because that one was such a fun challenge last year. Because again, it's just watching people come up with really crazy stuff. Here's a question from Tina, and hopefully this shows up on the screen. Again, I don't know if it is. She says, what's your favorite video that you made? My favorite video, it might have been the day 3 one. I think it was day 3, where I was just being really stupid at that point, because I like to be stupid. It's really fun being stupid. Where it was like the Zen meditation thing, and just doing that was really fun, because it wasn't really related to the challenge. It wasn't a book tower, but I didn't really have anything else that I wanted to do, and so I thought this might be kind of fun. The 1-year anniversary, I think it's the 1-year anniversary of that Jean-Claude Van Damme commercial where he's split leggy thing between the 2 Volvo trucks, semi-trucks. I think it was like a couple days earlier or something, and so that image was in my head, and so I thought, okay, do the splits across the thing. Whatever, that'll be fun. Oh, am I still on the thing? Let me just see here. Oh, wow, there are tons of comments. I am finally seeing these things. Okay. Hi, Jane. How's it going? So next year there's going to be 1 million BitStrip videos for BookTube-A-Thon. I am certainly tempted. Oh, yes, definitely. Don't have to worry about how tired I look is a big sell. It certainly is. Okay. Okay, for some reason, these are not coming into the main thing, but that's okay. Monica, is this working? Monica, hey there. She is asking, is video editing a job / serious hobby for you? And I would say it's both. I currently work as a video editor, and I also do graphics for a company here in town. It's really fun. I got into it as a hobby. It became a job, and now I do it as a job. And I've always kind of been doing it as a hobby as well, where I just love it so much, but it's also it's really difficult to balance. It's one of the reasons why I don't release videos regularly, is because there's the regular day job stuff. There's regular work that needs to be done. Yeah, I don't think these are showing up on the screen. Oh, well. Okay. We're moving on. So it is a job. I've been doing it for actually 8 years. Oh my gosh. Yeah, hitting me, because I don't think about that too often. Brain fart. Wow. Okay. It's something that I enjoy doing. You know, I originally got into making films with my friends and just doing funny little videos, and we had a blast doing it. Then that led to school, and then it led to a job. So yeah, it's fun to be able to do both. I like it as a job, and I like it as a hobby, because, well, the job pays for the bills, and it lets me do my hobby. What else do we have here? Melody says, I loved all your videos. I thought they were so hilarious. Amazing job. Thank you very much. That means a lot. That's great. Because one thing I was wondering about was, well, if I do this, are people going to maybe be skittish about it? Are they going to be like, why are you doing this cheapo thing with the character and whatnot? I was also worried about I was also worried about, oh, what was it? I was also worried greatly about people just saying that it was a shortcut or that I was cheating when it came to actually just making stuff. Uh, there was also a few concerns with Bitstrip's rights, and also because one thing I do want to do with my videos is that, I mean, I like being silly, I like making jokes, and I love doing that. The thing that I didn't want to do though is actually to be showboating too much, and with the challenges, I wasn't talking about books a whole lot. I was more just showcasing funny things in videos and me doing silly things. But I think what I want to try and do is find a greater balance between throwing in dashes of humor, and then also making sure that I'm talking about books and learning how to analyze and talk about books and convey my thoughts about them a lot more constructively, or get to the point where I can actually combine both of them together into a nice little package. And this was an experiment to see how that would work. I think I definitely leaned more on the humor side, going for a laugh. But I think I've also learned a few ways in doing this and how to maybe change that up in the future. Because I've written reviews, but I haven't actually recorded the videos for them because I get caught up in revising them or making sure that they're worded perfectly. And so this taught me to maybe not worry about that as much, to just simply get it out, because so many other people that I know who make these videos can record them and speak their thoughts and actually convey quite a bit of information about the book reviews or the books that they're reviewing, which works out wonderfully. What else do we have? Yeah, I didn't talk about books, and that's something that I wanted to do more. Tina over at Tina Fit Reads asks, are you going to any events like BEA next year or a VidCon? Since BEA is going to be in, is it Chicago next year? I think plane flights to Chicago aren't actually too bad from where I am. I may plan for it because it'd be really fun to go. VidCon, I'd probably try going to BEA over VidCon first up, just that experience of books. And just seeing that might be cool. This Friday, I'm going to be at, no, actually, yeah, I'm going to be there Friday. I'm going to be there the weekend. There's going to be a booktuber meetup at When Words Collide, which is an event happening in Calgary. Savannah Harvey, who runs her channel, The Pretentious English Major, is going to be, she's arranged this this panel and this meetup, and so she's gonna talk about BookTube and introduce it to people who may not know about it. And then there's going to be a meetup afterwards where we're all going to meet up and just get together, because there's a few people in the area and who are nearby who can actually go. It's kind of surprising, the numbers. Strange. I mean, it's not like it's like amazingly crazy numbers. It's I think there's maybe 6 or 10 people, and it'll just be cool to kind of see some people there who I see videos of a lot, and I just, we talk to every now and then. It'll be cool to meet those. So I'll be going to that, and because this will be my second sort of exposure to a readers convention, it'll probably be how I gauge whether or not I want to go to BEA, just seeing how that goes. I think VidCon would be a lot of fun, but it's the kind of thing I would go to meet lots of people that I talk to now. So if there were lots of booktubers there, I'd probably want to go to meet them and see them. I guess there's other YouTubers that I follow, but my interest would be in like meeting those people. And I just, I'm incredibly agoraphobic when it comes to things like that. So I might be more comfortable with BEA versus VidCon. If anybody has any way to talk about that, then maybe. Sabrina from Sab Flores, she's wonderful. Her bookshelf with the lights on it, that is such a cool bookshelf. She has asked, no, she just said I liked the video. Never mind. I thought there was a question. It wasn't. But thank you for liking. That's cool. Okay. Yes, Miss Jane says, hey, Brock, your glasses are so 5 years ago. Are you talking about these glasses right now, currently? I've had them for maybe 2 years. I'm horrible when it comes to fashion sense and actually knowing what to wear or how to dress. So any tips on that one would be appreciated. I'm really, yes, Miss Jane, I'm really struggling to think of mean things to say. I hope you keep struggling because I don't want you to say mean things. All I've got is doo-doo head. This is from Sophisticated Blueberry. All I've got is doo-doo head because that's what I called Neil Stephenson in my most recent 7 Eves status update. You called Neil Stephenson doo-doo head? Oh boy. Most of these comments should be moved to legit comments. Typically with the comment tracker, they do show up. Here, what I'm going to do is maybe move to a different portion of the toolbox because I can use this to maybe get the comments that are coming in. It should say, we'll see if this other tool works out. Right now I'm using a thing called Comment Tracker, and it typically does the trick, but we'll see. All right, you really can't draw. No, can't draw. No drawing at all. So much rage, just her name sets me off. I missed something here. Whose name sets you off? Whose name? Julia? I'm missing something. Who's this Julia? Turns out Adam Savage, this is from a username, 50red510. Turns out Adam Savage, the Mythbusters guy, is pretty big into SF. Not sure if you guys have seen the podcast on 7 Eves or even the interview with Andy Weir. His interview with Andy Weir is astounding. I loved watching that interview when he asked him all those questions. And it turns Andy Weir is such a friendly guy. He was way more friendly than I thought he would be. I thought he was going to be like boring technology guy, but he is so fascinating. It's like just all his little stories and incredibly friendly. I'm kind of surprised we don't see more of him, especially with, well, how much traction The Martian has, and then the movie side of it. That is astounding to me. Just scrolling down quickly, the rest of the few things here. But Adam Savage talked about 7 Eves. That I would be very interested in seeing, because did he interview Neil Stephenson in that? That'd be cool. Oh, Jane had to leave. Oh no. Well, she was being mean anyway. Sorry, Jane. The guys in the Tested podcast talk a lot about good books. Oh yeah, I love that they read books. That's really cool. Michael from Knowledge Lost asks, since you like the microphone approach, have you thought about doing a podcast? That would be entertaining. I have briefly considered it, but I'm sort of unsure as how to approach that. With YouTube, because it's visual and it's something that you can share very easily, and because I like making videos, that's sort of what I've chosen to do. I think if I was to do a podcast, I'd almost want other people there to talk during that time. My perception of podcasts is that it's usually like a roundtable discussion, or you have multiple people, and I really like that format. I'm just not sure, how does it work with one person, or does it work with one person, or do you typically need other stuff to fill that out? It may be something I have to look into, because it might fulfill my need to talk about books. And not worry and stress so much about trying to balance making videos with a day job and children and family and stuff. Yeah. Okay. So Tina has asked, top 5 children's books that you love. Oh my gosh. I have one here, actually. I've got a few here. Recently, hey, what do you know? It's like all my books. My mother, we had a bunch of books in the storage from when we were children, and we brought them home, and coincidentally they're sitting right here. One of them is Sir Small and the Dragonfly, which is, it's just a book, but it's also a book about fantasy characters, because it actually mentions it was where I first learned about the Butcher, the Baker, and the Candlestick Maker. Yeah, the Butcher, the Baker, and the Candlestick Maker. And it's basically about this little teeny guy who lives in a little teeny world. He's very tiny, and he fights a dragonfly that terrorizes their village. That's one. I actually have Old Bear. Sorry about the light. There's Old Bear, this one's an amazing book I read time and time again. There's a version of The Gingerbread Man. which also came with a cassette tape. I don't remember that one, but that book was one of my favorites as a kid. If by children's books you mean, those thin children's books. If you're referring to middle grade, let me know, and maybe we move on to something else. There was also the Three Billy Goats Gruff. I love that one as a book. I know it's based off of other stories, the same with the Gingerbread Man, but Three Billy Goats Gruff, really good book. We have a copy around here. I think my daughter ate half of it. Of course, there's Where the Wild Things Are. That one is a classic. My mother read this one to me. It's probably one of the earliest books I remember. Because man, who wouldn't want to dress up as Max? I think it's Max. Yeah, who wouldn't want to dress up as little Max and actually run around and dance like him and not go to bed when it's your bedtime? There's also the Pumpkin Book of Nursery Rhymes. Like, this is like my whole childhood right here. That just happens to be right next to me. Yeah, and there's probably like Clifford the Big Red Dog is one of them. I don't know if that answers your question. Hopefully it does. If not, let me know and I can rephrase. So Sabrina has asked, what did you end up reading? What I ended up reading was, I started into Hollow City, got about 10% into that. I started Regulation 19 by P.T. Hilton. I promised him that this live show was going to be all about that, but all about his book, but I guess I'm throwing that out the window. So far, it's a pretty good book. I'm enjoying it. It's got a nice mystery to it, and I don't know where it's going, and it's one of those things where it's like, tell me more. So really cool book there. I also read Seven Eves. The first night of BookTube-A-Thon, I stayed up till midnight, and I read so much of Seven Eves that night. I was so happy. It was a great way to start BookTube-A-Thon, and I'm still reading the book now. It's really good. The other one book I finished was On the Far Side of the Mountain. That book where the kid goes into the wilderness by himself because he wants to live out there. There was some conversation taking place on Twitter earlier today about who and who hasn't read The Hatchet. The book is like The Hatchet, only there's no accident that makes the character stranded in the woods. So in The Hatchet, kid's at a plane crashes, kid has to survive for a number of days. Well, for a long time before he finally is rescued. In the book My Side of the Mountain, and on the far side of the mountain, it's kid goes into the woods because he just wants to get away from it all, and his parents are kind of cool with this. And his sister shows up, and his sister lives with him, and again, his parents are kind of cool with this. They're only 13, and they're just like 13 years old in the 60s, and everyone seems to be very fine with them living in the woods by themselves, no problems. Obviously, from a child's perspective or from a more middle grade perspective, I think that is probably really engaging just because it's really cool to read all the facts and trivia about how they go and survive and the things they make and the clothes that they end up like crafting and as they live off the land. So that was really cool. It was fascinating in that way, but from a story standpoint, the characters were very flat. What else? And then I read a Brandon Sanderson novella, which was Shadows for Silence in the Forests of Hell, which was a pretty cool novella. Sometimes I read Brandon Sanderson novellas and I go, man, that would make a really cool short film or something. They should do that because they looked pretty, it was a pretty good story. His other story before that, there was another one I read, which I didn't like as much, but I really enjoyed Shadows for Silence in the Forests of Hell. Michael says that I'm sure that with all the YouTube friends you've made, you might be able to have guests on a podcast. That is very true. That is incredibly true because there are so many people that could ask. I think I wouldn't have a problem asking anybody. It's more of how do I do the technical side of hosting a podcast, making sure that it's available to people. I have to learn that side of it because I know there's some services that will host a podcast, and then there's some things about bandwidth limits, which probably wouldn't be a big deal. Yeah. Hey, Joe. Joe at Joe Reads asks, what genres does your wife read? My wife reads a lot of, she reads contemporary fiction. She's really heavy into Jasper Fforde. I've read The Air Affair. I need to read the other books in that series. And she really wants me to read Shades of Grey by Jasper Fforde. I'm looking at her shelf right now. She's also got, she's got a bit of nonfiction, but she's been reading a lot more classics. So she read The Woman in White by author whose name I can't remember, but is really famous for writing that book. There's also Baking Cakes in Kigali. She loves comedians. She's read a lot of comedians' books. She's got like a book by Jim Gaffigan, My Dad is Fat. I think she has this other book about food or something. But she reads quite a bit of contemporary fiction. There was another one about an adopted daughter. I can't read them from here, so I'm not going to try. But that's what she reads. She reads a lot of contemporary fiction, and I'm kind of blown away by how fast she reads. She can read faster than I can. I read slow. That's not a problem. But yeah, typically contemporary fiction that often focuses on motherhood as, say, a theme. Motherhood, sisterhood. She has a ton of fun with Jasper Fforde. She wants me to read it, but I think because she's read a lot more classics than I have, she would understand. She understands the literary references and literary jokes more than I do. When I read The Eyre Affair, I think I missed a lot because I have not read Jane Eyre, and I didn't understand the story that they were trying to communicate. So I didn't understand that there were differences and changes with how they did that. Tina has asked, what do you use to edit your videos, and what can you recommend for those who are starting out video editing? That is an interesting question. Oh, wow, interesting. So I use Adobe Premiere, partly just because I get to through work. So I use Adobe Premiere. I've been using it for a long time. Back when it was like version 6.5 before it became CS1, or 6.5 before they released 7, which became Premiere CS1, which became 1.5. It's really confusing, that period of time in my life. It was a horrible editor back in the day. It has improved greatly because it was really frustrating to use. I think there's been some days when I've gone back to that version to use it. It's horrible. I like Premiere. Premiere is really easy, but there's also the problem associated with the cost. Right now, because of work, I can use it through work, and that means I don't have to pay that monthly fee, the subscription fee, to use Adobe Premiere. One day I would like to use Adobe Premiere, say in like a home setting, to be able to do that. And actually just pay for it myself and have that. Right now, I just have to go with the good graces of work. So there's also, you'll have to forgive me because my experience with other movie editors is not as in depth. I know a little bit of Final Cut Pro X, and I would probably go with that one, but the price might be prohibitive. I mean, even like you kind of pay $70 a month for the Creative Cloud to be able to use Adobe Premiere. There might be some other packages for Photoshop, but I don't think that includes Premiere that are cheaper. There's, what is it? So there's Final Cut Pro X, which is a one-time fee that you can use if you have a MacBook. And I've used it. I don't like it a whole lot, but I think that it would, I think if I worked with it more, I would probably enjoy it or be able to do much of the same thing. Most of the editing for BookTube and for vlogs is actually very simple. Most of the stuff that you would do, say in Premiere, isn't really what the program, you don't need that much power to be able to do what you do for videos on YouTube. Because when you're typically doing a vlog where you're looking at a camera and it's just you talking, standing there, you're simply just cutting out the silent bits and leaving in the parts where you're talking or saying something meaningful. And so Windows Movie Maker works really well. I know that there's another program that was mentioned earlier today that I cannot remember. Oh gosh, there's DaVinci Resolve, which is probably a very technical program, but they have version 12 and it's available for free. And one of the things they've tried to do, it's actually a color grading program, but they've tried to build more video editing features into it. I haven't used the new version, so I know that people people have been using it and they say that it's getting there, but it's maybe not the full-fledged editor. But for maybe some of the simple stuff, it's simply just putting clips on a timeline, getting rid of the stuff you don't want, and kind of work. It's a little bit technical on the back end and kind of confusing at first, but it's a pretty easy program to use. Again, most of my experience comes from very technical programs, and so I may not be the one to recommend a simple program to use. There's always iMovie and stuff. You will have to forgive me because I get really frustrated with those programs, mainly because they don't allow me the amount of control that I want over things. And they've changed over the years too, but I have a hard time using them because I'm so used to simply thinking, well, I want to do this, so I will grab this and do that. And in those programs, I find I hit walls more often where I go, okay, all I want to do is put a dissolve on something, or all I want to do is keep this here and move this here and not touch anything else. And so I may not be the best person to ask about that, and I'm very sorry. I'm very sorry that I can't give maybe like a better answer or a better thing to get into. There's another editor that's free. That's actually like a high-end Hollywood movie editor. I can't remember the name of it right now, but it's free and you can use it. But it might be, I think it might be too, it might have too much of a barrier to entry. I've never really used it either, so I don't know. I'm only saying Resolve just because it's free, but it might be more frustrating to just simply dive into it than anything. So I'd probably go with Windows Movie Maker and iMovie, the default choices, because really what you're doing is what you're doing with a video is very simple. Even in Premiere, what I'm doing is not complicated. It's footage. I throw the footage on the timeline. I razor it up. I cut out the bits that are silent. I then put all that together, and then I go through it again and take out the bits that I don't want to use. I don't know if that's maybe the way that Windows Movie Maker works. I think it's you choose what you want, put it down, choose another thing you want, put it down. You can do the same thing in lots of other editing programs, but they all work very differently. And I think a lot of us have favorites. Most of my experience is from Premiere and Final Cut Pro 7, a much older program, which works really well, but they don't really make anymore. So kind of out of luck there. Yeah. But I don't know. It may not be the easiest program to use, but I like Premiere because so far for me, it's been the easiest, or it's the one I'm most familiar with, and I can do quite a bit with. I may wrap this up soon, just because I've been going for an hour, and I'm pretty sure I've been rambling long enough. Let me see here. I think I've answered those questions. I'm just going to pop over to this other thing, see what's going. Let me see here. Oh, we got other stuff going on. Thank you, everybody who is weighing in on these comments here, and I'm sorry for not getting to them a little faster. We were talking about the president in 7 knees. Oh, yeah. Holy cow. Sorry, I just know her as that JBF or JFB, whatever. Not as, yeah. So, when she, yeah. I'm not going to say anything. I don't want to spoil it, but that president. Oh, who voted for her? She. Oh, yeah. Just that. I know the chapter you're thinking of. That moment. That doo-doo head. Yes. Jacob Martin. Hey, Brock. How's it hanging? Hey, Jacob. How's it going? Great to see you and hear from you. That's awesome. I know him from Twitter. We talk a lot on Twitter. Andy Weir is so friendly. Yes, he is, Sabrina. Hippie parents, am I right? Yep, them hippie parents. Of course, I think we all have hippie parents when you think about it, based on the all our parents turn into hippies or something. Yep. I think I'm winding down a little bit there, but I think to wrap up, yeah, the whole thing was a bit of an experiment. I learned some things. I made some mistakes. I'm glad of the mistakes I made because it helped me learn. I think with things like the movie trailer, or the book trailer, sorry, that I would do that differently in the future. I got so hung up on an idea that wasn't working. I knew I wanted to do planets and the moon exploding and that, but I didn't know how I wanted the camera to move. And I went to actually go do a camera move. I didn't get it to work the way I wanted. And so I kept going back to the beginning and being like, well, how would the camera move? How would the camera move? And it just, yeah, it didn't come together. And then I also didn't know how to make a planet look like it was on fire, or a little explosions. It's like, how do you blow up the moon? You know, you don't really, you think about it in your brain, but then you think, well, how do I show blowing up the moon? That was a little, that was a bit of a challenge because but that was the fun part, because sometimes you just don't know going in. At the beginning of each morning, you didn't know waking up what the challenge was going to be. And so it was so cool to simply know at that point, oh, we got to do this today. And I really enjoyed that. I'm looking forward to maybe doing that next year and just seeing what else can be done with it. Because I think I might refine the process a bit more to make it more flexible for, say, that character to appear in different backgrounds. One of the things I want to try and do is maybe find an illustrator. This is also a problem because then I have to also make sure that there's money to pay an illustrator. But I want to be able to find an illustrator to maybe take sort of the foundation of that BitStrips character and maybe draw somebody or something that looks like me in order to be able to continue doing that, because it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun. It's really enjoyable to do that. I gotta say, I can't put it into words, but it's so much fun. The with the character though, is I also want to make sure that I can, you know, have a character where I can change expressions, change the eyeballs, have it do poses, maybe be a little more flexible in the poses, and then also have something that's higher resolution. What you get off BitStrips is really tiny, and so on a video screen you end up blowing it up quite a bit in order to have it fill the screen at, you know, at 1920 by 1080. Because one thing I would like would be much sharper lines along all the outlines and everything. And then like whenever that character like has his eyes closed or blinks, those lines are very thin and they break down. They get very jaggy. And I'd like to see something a little more cool for that. I'll try not to be silent for too long on this. But I probably only have about maybe 10 minutes left before I sign off. So there's a few illustrators in it that I know that I may talk to and just be like, hey, what would it take to maybe get a character that looks nicer? And then I'd also want to be able to have the option to maybe have other characters or have some very quick and simple interchangeable character types, so that if I'm, say, talking about a book and I want to talk about characters, I can show them as people on the screen, very similar to what they would do on Thug Notes, where they have a body of a person, it's a photograph, and they have that weird circle thing that shows like a face, so that it's easier to associate the character that they're talking about with what the character's actions are as they talk about them in the story. I'd maybe want a few different character designs that I could do that with. That's all a pipe dream. That's certainly not happening anytime soon. That's sort of like a wish list, you know, like maybe if I save up or find out what the actual cost of that would be to try making something, it might, you know, it'd be fun to do. Obviously, I want to make sure that it's not something that's going to to bankrupt me, and so it'll be much later down the line. I may have to save up for it, but I think it'd be really fun. Joe says, I loved what I've seen of your live show. Fun. I'd love to see you and your wife do a book video together. One day we may. There was a long time ago we talked about doing the First Lines book tag, and then there were a few other sort of cooperative ones that I talked about doing, but that we didn't do. One thing I want to do is make sure that I just it's about, and part of it's about privacy. I just don't want to like force her into showing up on a video. She may be totally fine with it, but I've just been careful about that, because it's like, well, this was my choice to throw myself on the internet and make a fool of myself. So I've been kind of hesitant, but it'd be maybe fun to do one day, because I mean, those types of tags are really fun too. She's really lovely. I love her. You know, she's great. Yeah, and she reads a lot of books, and you know, she's pretty bookish, and it's always fun to hear about the books that she's reading and what the stories that she comes across, because I don't know, sometimes I'll see her reading something, or she'll finish a book and she'll talk about it, and I quite like this. I quite enjoy it. Quite listening to hearing what she reads, because I'm just like, oh man. I mean, I don't read a lot of classics, but I kind of go, man, that story sounds interesting. Yeah, I think I might be losing my steam here. But I think I've also gone on for a decent amount of time. Mostly this was to just get all these thoughts that I had out, because I'm a little tired right now to write them down on paper. It's much easier just to blab this out. I'd like to say thank you very much for listening to me during this, and for being patient with me through this process, just because some of the comment stuff seems to be kind of flaky. I know YouTube is maybe changing their streaming to another system. They're testing that one out, and I think that might have some better options. But right now, a few things just aren't working for me currently. So thank you for bearing with that. Thank you very much for listening in, for watching, for putting up with me. I do know that I was quite silly during BookTube-A-Thon, and I want to make sure that in the future I maybe focus more about books and about the reading, while being silly at the same time. And yeah, that's where I'd like to go in the future. I think it'd be a really cool thing to try and do. It's a goal. I might go do some reading later tonight. Yes, that'd be great. Going to try and dive much more into Regulation 19. A little bit into, I might start the VOR next week. I'm on vacation next week. That'll be so good, because right now we have a big push at work, and then as soon as that big push is done, I'm on vacation, and reading shall be done. I'm looking forward to when words collide, because there's going to be panels. There's going to be authors there. I think I found out that the author of Zero Boxer is going to be there. So I'm a little excited about that. Also, the authors who make up the duo James S.A. Corey, they're going to be the guys who write Leviathan Wakes and the Expanse series, which is now being turned into a show on Sci-Fi, I think. They're going to be there, and I actually owe them an apology for stuff I did. So that'll be fun. Yeah, reading shall be done. During the vacation, of course, the Hugo Awards will be happening. Whether or not I'm happy at the end of that will probably be, I don't know. I may not be the happiest person during the Hugo Awards. The whole thing may be just a bit of a wash this year. A lot of stuff happening there I'm not going to get into at the moment, because I don't want to stare down that abyss. But anyway, hopefully this show will be fun. If not, whatever. Yeah, I think that's it. I think that's all I've got in me. Everybody, I hope you guys have a wonderful night. Thank you very much for joining me, for commenting, for asking questions, for taking part, and for putting up with the experiment that has been the past week of BookTube-A-Thon. Definitely huge thank you to Ariel Bissett and all the other organizers of BookTube-A-Thon, and for the tremendous work that they did in making sure that we were all informed every day and were able to have a lot of fun, because it's certainly one of the craziest readathons that happens right now. It's something that a lot of people can really dive into, and it's just so enjoyable to see what everybody else comes up with. I had a lot of fun. I hope you had a lot of fun. Have a wonderful night. We will see you later. Bye-bye.